Check it out, man. Carlor is a concrete master. He does concrete stairs. Did it all by myself too. Not just kidding. My foreman helped me a lot. Hey guys, Carlor here. I just want to show you I'm pouring some concrete. It's actually it's not Carlor this time. It's Rat Tail. He does all the carpenter work. Check it out. I'm pouring some concrete. I'm gonna build a shed this summer, or when it gets warmer out. My next project. But right now I'm pouring some concrete at my house. I could do a video on that, but it's not really that special. But I wanted to put it in my video. Sorry to bother all the Bo Staff fans, but check this out. This is pretty good. All right, when you don't see huge puddles at the top, now it's a good time to start. Hit it one more time with the mags. Now clean this edge here. Pretty inexpensive to do it this way. Just this one little square I did here is about 2.5 by 2.5 feet, and it took me maybe 4 bags of 80-pound concrete. Did the job, about 3 inches thick. First you gotta put the stone down. I found some mesh in the trash, you know, the scrap pieces of mesh that you gotta have mesh or some kind of rebar in there. That way if it cracks it won't like fall apart or sink into the ground or something. Usually concrete will crack. I bought the mag. The mag brings the cream up to the surface, otherwise, you know, you'll have stones maybe popping out. You want it to be smooth at the top, depending on what kind of finish you want to put on it. And another thing I bought, you'll see later, is an edging tool. Is right there by my right arm, sitting on that 2x4. It does the corners. Probably should have done it one time, just that, like, while the concrete's wet, just to keep the stone down on the corners. You don't want, because later if the stone might be too close and you'll have some exposed stone. You might not want to have the stone look. And you see by my left hand is the first pour I did like the previous weekend. Home Depot and Lowe's, you can get discount bags of cement mix, Quickcrete. I got the high strength kind, but sometimes when there's like a hole in the bag, you know, you could get it for a discount. Just be careful when you transport it. You could end up leaking it all over the place. Yep, here now I'm doing the edging tool, and you can see it exposes some of that stone. Probably should have done that a little bit earlier. You'll see it frame around the whole thing. They call that picture framing. I'm going to rub that out, rub that away. Later, after I'm done edging each side. So the first pour had an edge. I used the edging tool around the whole square. Let it set up, and I stripped the 2x4s. But you gotta make sure the mesh is coming through so that you can use it for the next pour. You want the mesh to be up off of the ground. Before you pour concrete, you want to pour concrete on top of stone. So I did buy a couple bags of the stone too. Pretty inexpensive to do it this way. You could do it on a budget. You might have spent like $50 each weekend. And What I did was I laid a 2x4 on the ground, made sure it slopes away from the house. You don't want it to be sloping too much, but just put my level on it and made sure the slope of it is going away from the house. You can't see it in this picture, but there's a downspout, and the downspouts going to leak all the rainwater from my roof right on top of this concrete and away from the house a little bit. If I want to keep going, it'll be like a checkerboard. It'll be a square next to a square next to a square. I'm going to keep going. You'll see on the left hand side of the screen there's mesh popping out. It's because there's 2 layers of 2x that I used. There's a 2x4 sitting on the ground. The mesh goes over top of it. Put another 2x4 on top of that piece of mesh and nail right through everything. Nail one 2x4 on top of the other. And that's your form work. That's my form work. Pretty simple. Don't have to be too much of an expert to do this, but you can screw it up. My first one was pretty screwed up. I got some mud in it, so there's some divots in it. So, and when I poured this one, I actually filled in those little dips that on the first pour that I messed up. Ended up looking pretty good. Each one is going to get better, but you want them all to kind of look the same. You want the same finish for each one, so it creates a pattern over time. You could do like a whole patio this way. Just make sure each time you got mesh, the metal sticking out the sides, not too close to the top. I got it, a 2x4 is 1.5 inches on the flat, so it's 1.5 inches down from the top and 1.5 inches up from the bottom. One thing that's important is to not just keep finishing like crazy. That's what I kind of screwed up on my first pour, the first concrete pour. I just wouldn't leave it alone, and you see some of the stone at the top, and it ended up being kind of rough. I even went out the next day and hit it with slid a brick across the top to try to smooth it, and you end up seeing some of the stone. Yeah, it's not really good to do that. You want to be patient, wait until the last minute, hit it a couple times, get it just right, leave it alone, because if you see stone at the top, it's not really a good look. It's sometimes people go for that look, but there's a whole process to that, and you need some kind of solution, and that's called exposed aggregate. But that's not what it's for the experts. The weather was just a little bit too cold, and I mixed this in a wheelbarrow, so I put a blanket over top to try to keep it warm. Maybe wait till the weather gets better. Right there on next to my left hand, I got a stake in the ground right behind the 2x4. You're supposed to do that so that you want the 2x's to be solid, they can't move. If you pour even more concrete, you're going to want to back the stake up, because concrete can push, but this doesn't really push. Oh, waited too long for that side. You don't want the formwork for the concrete to move at all when you pour concrete, because that'll just ruin your finish. It could make the concrete sink. You also want to keep your formwork tight, because it could start leaking out. Now I'm using the mag to get rid of the picture frame. When you mix your own concrete, you can do it in a wheelbarrow, and it might be good to get a drill with a mixing bit to really mix it up good, because you're going to want to mix it up real good. make it look like a thick milkshake. You don't want it to be like water. If you ever have trouble getting the cream up, smack it. Here I'm moving the mesh a little bit. That should help get the cream up. I would recommend not adding too much water. Just add a little bit at a time as you're mixing it and check on it. Look at the consistency. If you can see the stone, it's probably too wet, so just go little by little, add water, and you could always add water, but if you run out of concrete mix, then you're out of luck, because it's hard to get water out of the mix. So it's good to have an extra bag of concrete, because you could always, sprinkle a little bit more of the cement on top. If it's too wet, it's not good. It's better for concrete to have the minimum amount of water. It makes it stronger. Also, make sure you put your stone down before you put your wood forms up. The wood forms can sit on top of the stone, because if you try to add the stone after the formwork, you could have a problem where the stone is falling out the side. When you go to strip the formwork, it starts falling off the side, and then you got a gap there. Alright, let's be patient with it. It's like another extension to my arm. This is just another extension to my arm. Thanks for watching.